Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on. My name is Ransom Anyema. I'm a final year radiography student, medical writer, a YouTuber as well. So today I have an amazing guest speaker. Today, um, I'm gonna give her the pace to introduce herself to the audience, so you guys can know a little bit about her. So Stephanie, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Okay, hi. My name is Stephanie Wamunuko, and I'm a biochemistry and genetics student at the University of Sheffield. But I'm also a former HSBC intern, and I have three scholarships: one with zero gravity, one with Fidelity International, and the final one with my university.
Amazing, amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Stephanie.
No
And I believe
problem.
that the audience have a snippet of who you are really. So let's diverge to the first question we have for you. All right. So I know you're a final year biochemistry student, right?
Yeah,
So tell us, how has your background in biochemistry and genetics prepared you for a cybersecurity internship, and what transferable skills were you able to apply? Talk us there.
I think my biochemistry and genetics backgrounds prepared me really well for my internship. I think because of my degree, there's a lot of analysis and looking at a lot of research papers day to day. And that was something I did a lot in my internship. I was looking at a lot of technical documents related to networks and all sorts of cybersecurity things, and being able to sort of summarize the content, get familiar with the content, and be able to sort of understand like what are the stakeholders, what is the scope of this project was really helpful because in my degree, that's what I do all the time with research papers. I'm looking at what are the results, what are the methods, what is the purpose of this experiment. So it's something that could easily transfer. And especially with my degree, I'm creating different documents for different people. Sometimes I'm making fake business plans for a fake biochemistry startup, or I'm doing, let's say, a lab report, or I'm doing a literature review. And when I'm doing my internship, I have to do lots of communications for different groups of people, whether it's for the cybersecurity team or towards the wider bank. So being able to know how to write for different audiences really helped, I think.
Hmm. Amazing. Wow. That was an amazing narrative on how your background in biochemistry, and genetics, propelled you, for a cybersecurity internship, and the transferable skills you've be able to apply. So before we proceed to the next question, do
Okay.
you think that cybersecurity is needed in terms of healthcare in general?
In terms of healthcare, I think there's a lot of sensitive data that you don't want to get into the wrong hands. So I think it's something that is very important. And especially with healthcare becoming more personalized, we're looking at things like people's genes. That's some very incredibly sensitive information to have. So being able to protect that information from other people is especially important, I think, now more than ever.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, because cybersecurity analysts should be able to, diverge their abilities into the healthcare sectors because you are really needed over there. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for your narratives. I believe that the audience are really inspired on how, your background in biochemistry, propelled you to, you know, go into cybersecurity internship, and talking us through about the transferable skills you've been able to apply. All right, so the next question for you is, okay, tell us, what key lessons did you learn from your cybersecurity internship at HSBC, and how do they apply to your future career plans?
I think one of the key lessons I understood, it's going to sound a bit random, but being able to ask the right questions at the right time. everybody is extremely busy at HSBC. So sometimes the person you're working on a project for can only see you at a certain time at a certain day. So being able to prepare beforehand and making sure you've answered every possible question you can ask, because that is going to come in handy when the next meeting you can have with them is next week when the project is almost due. So being sure that you do your preparation beforehand. Another thing I would say is being able to effectively receive feedback. I think before I started internship, I thought I was good at receiving feedback. You know, someone tells you what to do, make changes. However, I think when it came to feedback, I was still stuck in my assumptions. Like I didn't really effectively use the feedback as well as I could have. I thought, okay, that's a change that he wants me to make, but I still assume that that is supposed to be done in this way, you know. So making sure that I'm completely clear in my head of whatever assumption I had with the previous task. This is a new task. This is a new person. This is a new stakeholder. This is a new scope. So making sure I know how to use feedback as effectively as possible. I think another key skill would be managing multiple tasks at the same time. I have tasks for maybe 5 different managers due at 5 different times, whether and some of them are in teams and some of them are by myself and some of them I'm leading. So just being able to make sure I keep everybody in the loop of what I'm doing, reporting to the right person all the time, but also making sure I'm tracking my own deadlines. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to be holding my hand and saying, okay, you've got 5 days left to do this. No, you have to take these kind of things on your own and making sure that you're managing everything effectively. And I think lastly, it would be being able to teach myself when I don't know the answer. My background when it comes to tech is in front end design. So when I was younger, I used to do a lot of front end coding just for fun. I'd like to create websites, stuff like that. But I'm not as good with the back end of websites and software design. So making sure I'm looking at the company resources, what people created beforehand, and how can I learn from that to make sure I'm doing the back end properly. So making sure I'm proactive, and if I don't know something, I teach myself and I get the job done, I guess.
Amazing. We med students are very curious sometimes. I love the fact that you handle multiple tasks at the same time and still come out amazing. This is a very amazing skill to apply. In terms of your background in biochemistry and generally being proactive, like you mentioned, is a very amazing strategy to learn. From
Definitely.
your cybersecurity internship at HSBC. But before we proceed to the next question, Stephanie, talk us
Mhm.
through about how the company is, HSBC, and how did you, decide to go on with your internship in cybersecurity at that place?
Well, it's sort of, I guess, not a long story, but what happened was I did a Insight Week beforehand at HSBC. So, and I was in the tech division of Insight Week. So we looked at things like what financial crime, cybersecurity, other things. So for me, I just thought, okay, cybersecurity is the furthest from my degree as possible. Let me do what's as far as away from my degree as possible. Just because in my head, from every experience I want to get broader. I don't want to get smaller. I want to be able to do more and more things. Even with things like software engineering, I code in my degree already when it comes to things like R and data analysis. But oh yeah, data analysis is another career you can do at HSBC. So I thought, let me just choose what's different, what's new, what's something I don't really have a background in. Let me grow that skill. And if I don't like it, I can always switch to something else when I do the graduate scheme if I choose to. So that's kind of where my mentality came from.
Amazing. Wow. Because I was very curious, because cybersecurity is far
Yeah, fair.
from biochemistry. There's no connection between biochemistry and cybersecurity. But in somewhat there are some connections because I'll tell you one thing,
Okay.
Stephanie, because I told you my finals in radiography, and we do one of the courses called Biomedical Informatics, and They're very amazing set of engineers that work in the healthcare sector, and also in the biological sector. You know, in general, biomedical informatics is like using technologies, tech innovations in biology and medicine industry in general. And there are some softwares that are created, like you said, about privacy, sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
you know, things that are needed to be secure, not to be put in the public. And so there are kinds of, you know, connection between cybersecurity and biochemistry, because, and not only biochemistry and genetics. There are some genetical, preferences that needs to be kept, private. So that's why you're doing an amazing job. And don't think that there is no interconnection between cybersecurity and biochemistry. Like a book I read, there's no knowledge, there's a waste. So
Exactly.
you joining cybersecurity and biochemistry together is going to be a heavy thing to do, but it's worth it at the end. So keep
Definitely.
doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for talking us through on the lessons you've learned from your cybersecurity internship at HSBC, and how do they apply in your future career plans as well. And you also talked about the reason why you progressed to doing a cybersecurity internship at HSBS. Amazing. So I've heard you saying that you have a lot of scholarships,
Yeah.
you know, during our introductory complaints. Amazing.
Thank you.
This is question is one of the questions that I am really interested about. So tell us, as a Fidelity and Zero Graffiti scholar, what opportunities or mentorship experiences have you had the biggest impact on your academic and professional growth? These are very important aspects of your life in terms of your academic and your professional growth. So talk us through.
When it comes to fidelity, I think a lot of people assume that the first thing I did was cybersecurity, but that's not the case at all. The first thing I did was asset management, and it was something that I was really interested in. So I applied for Fidelity Scholarship because I thought, okay, asset management. I haven't heard of this before, but it seems like something that I would be interested in. I applied for it, and that scholarship meant that every few weeks I got talks with people in different careers within Fidelity. So sometimes I got talks with relationships managers, sometimes with equity researchers, and it kind of just made me understand that there's so much more to asset management and finance than I thought. Because asset management isn't the whole of finance; it's a very small part of finance. Yet there's so many different careers in that. So it just made me kind of broaden my horizons to there's so many different things I can do even within this small career. And I shouldn't limit myself to what's it, biochemistry or research or whatever. There's so many things that I can do if I would like to. And that kind of, how I say, it propelled me forward to doing more non-biochemistry experiences because with Fidelity, a lot of the people that work in certain positions don't have a degree in finance or economics or anything to do with that, or even maths. It showed me that as long as you can stand up for yourself and show that your skills are transferable, you can start a career in whatever. So I think that's what Fidelity really taught me, that I should broaden my horizons.
Hmm.
And also, obviously, they provide me money, which helps me focus more on my studies because I don't have to worry about money as much. And so does zero gravity, which has been really helpful. I think how zero gravity differs is that zero gravity is more like, you want to do this career, here's the tools, we're going to give you all the tools possible to do that career. And I think that's how zero gravity shines. For example, the HSBC internship, the whole reason I got into HSBC was because of zero gravity. I saw that they were doing some sort of accelerator course on, want to find out more about HSBC, do this course. I was like, okay, let me see what this is all about. And I was like, oh, okay, there's so many different things to do in HSBC. Let me see the tech part. And that's kind of what became the kind of catalyst to me working at HSBC. So I think both of them have been really impactful and given me a foundation to kind of grow into whatever career I want to do. But aside from that, the mentors that I've gotten over the years have been some of the most supportive, most motivational, most, what's the word? I don't even know what to say, but critical also, which sounds like a bad thing, but sometimes you need criticism to grow. When I'm doing an application, they're the ones that will read through my application before I send it in and be like, okay, Stephanie, change that, Stephanie, change this. Or if I'm preparing for an assessment center, they'll be the ones to tell me your interview sucks. You need to improve your interviewing skills. So things like that. And especially with Fidelity, we do a lot of practice of pitching business ideas, pitching investments, and being able to learn how to communicate something like that really helps when it comes to applying for any opportunity, when you can see the pros and the cons and still convince people despite the cons. Is something that can really help you no matter what career you do, I think.
Huh. Amazing. Wow, wow, wow. In general, I love the fact that it's really, you know, affecting your academic and professional growth in a positive way.
Definitely.
Having mentors are like guardians, that guides you to the right path. Like you said about, you write application letters, and you have someone that is directing you, giving you some corrections on what not to do and what to do, and also in terms of your interview correlations as well. Amazing,
Oh,
amazing.
sorry, can I just cut in for a second there? I just want to say something about mentors. A lot of people assume that your mentor has to be in the career that you want to do. My mentor works in investment directing, and my other mentor works in sustainability consulting. I have never done any of those two careers before, but as long as you have someone who has experience in whatever they do, if they can bring that experience with them, that will be valuable no matter what form it comes in. So I think people always think, oh, I need a mentor that works exactly in the field I want to. You're going to change your mind. That's like life. So just have a mentor that you know is someone that is doing well in their career and can give you advice. Something I wanted to add.
Amazing. Wow. People think like I want to mentor that is in my specialty, in my field.
Mm,
You've heard what Stephanie said. It's not really a must. You have to, find a mentor that is always in your field or something like that. You just have to, digress a little bit more. And so, wait, before we proceed, Stephanie, to the next question, what do you think are the methods of, getting a mentor?
mm. For me, it's kind of pretty easy because it's come with my programs. But if I was to start again without any programs, I would definitely say just reaching out on LinkedIn and asking a few questions. And the person that seems the most willing, just every now and then ask some questions, build that relationship. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to mentor you if they don't know you. But if you show interest, if you continuously talk with them, ask them how they're doing, do that sort of like backwards and forwards, I think eventually you can create a relationship that becomes sort of a mentor. I I know people expect a mentor to be someone that's with you all the time, but sometimes having little mentors that can help you every now and then is something that's helpful as well. Because even though I have those two as my mentors, sometimes I ask people other questions that aren't my mentors. Like I have a mentor who works at HSBC who occasionally asks information about something else, but he wouldn't describe myself as my mentor, but he has mentored me. You know, they don't have to become that structured mentor. So I'm saying find little mentors wherever you can throughout your life, and those people can guide you.
Okay, I believe that the audience noted that down. You have to reach out because nobody's going to do that for you except
Mm.
you. You have to definitely reach out. If you admire someone in a career that you're, fantasizing to moving in, you have to reach out to that person, and not just reaching out just like that. You have to build a relationship first
Mm.
because nobody's like what Stephanie said, nobody's mentor you or coach you if they don't really know who you are. So you have to make that person comfortable with you by building a relationship. That is the first step, before proceeding to the main thing. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for that nugget she drops right there. All right, so let's move to the next question. Okay, I know that your graduation is approaching.
Yeah.
You know, very soon going to call you the biochemist. And so talk us through with your graduation approaching now. Tell us, are you learning or leaning more towards a career in biotech, cybersecurity, or another field? What's shaping your decision?
I don't think I'm leaning towards any particular field. For me, I've always been like, it's not the field, it's how the job makes me feel, I guess. So what I'm focused on is finding roles that teach me something, especially with graduate schemes. That's why I one thing I'm leaning towards is graduate schemes. I'll say the whole purpose of them is to teach you for 2 years, gain your skills. They pay for courses, they might give you mentors, they might give you development opportunities, and sometimes they give you rotations into different aspects of the business. So for me, I just want a career that allows me to grow, because in the day, I might change my mind again. I might decide, actually, I don't want to do this career. But as long as I got those skills that I can carry with me throughout the rest of my professional life, I think that's what matters to me the most. Also, the hours, as much as I want to say I'm a very motivated person, there's only a certain number of hours I can do. So making sure I see the average hours is something that's also very important to me. And also the culture. Some company culture can be very toxic. And if I'm going to be working in that place 9 to 5, 5 days a week, I don't want a place that's going to make me feel worse each day. No, no, no. I want to be in a place where I'm around people that just don't make me feel like I hate my life, basically. So I make sure I want to choose a culture that I can actually be happy in and thrive in.
Amazing, amazing. Wow. Yeah, it's not good to, stay in a very toxic, place that doesn't
Mm.
align with your ambition. You have to, aim further. And I know you're going to get a position or work in a company that suits your ambition, you know. And yeah, we wish you all the best, Stephanie,
Thank you.
as you approach your graduation. And yeah, we'll be here to celebrate you as well. Yeah, because yeah, I
Yes,
would
this July,
definitely.
guys. Celebrate on my
Yeah,
behalf in July.
yeah, I'll be there virtually. Not physically, but I'll be there virtually. To support you as well, because it's not easy to balance biochemistry and cybersecurity. It's not an easy thing to do. So the last question for you, Stephanie, is all right. This is an amazing question that the audience would love to hear. What advice would you give to students out there? Because there are going to be a lot of students, either medical student or whatever student you are watching. What advice would you give to students out there looking to explore interdisciplinary fields like genetics and cybersecurity while securing competitive scholarships and internship?
I would say don't underestimate the skills that you already have. I think when we think of science and cybersecurity or science and any other career, you think, oh, these are so different. And I don't have any of the skills. I can't code. I can't do this. I can't. But just focusing on things you can do. I think, especially with if you're doing genetics or any degree anyway, sometimes you have to write reports. Sometimes you have to analyze data. Sometimes you have to do this and this. Just making sure that you write down what you do on your degree and you write down the skills that it gives you. And you can talk about those skills to somebody else. Can you convince somebody else you have those skills? What did it teach me? How can I apply this into a different career? Just asking yourself these questions as you note down what you've already done in your degree, because chances are you have more skills than you think you do. But as long as you can communicate that to other people, that's what's going to take you far. That's what's going to get you to those competitive internships. I mean, I got my scholarship with Fidelity in my first year of university. I don't do any asset management in my first year university. I'm still learning how to work in a lab, but telling them that, okay, these are the lab work I've done so far, these are the products I've done so far, and this is what they taught me. And I know I can apply it to this career, and I know I'll be able to grow within that career is something that is what you need to communicate to these people. I think also making sure you don't burn out. For me, I think I could have done so much better if I didn't do so many applications in my second year. I was tired. I didn't want to look at another application again. Just making sure you space everything out and don't put too much pressure on yourself. End of the day, they're competitive for a reason. They're hard. So just making sure that you acknowledge that you're doing something that's hard, you're doing something that's difficult, and giving yourself the grace and time to just say, okay, let me back away from this computer. Let me give myself a week. and let me apply again for something else, you know? So I
Yeah.
guess giving yourself grace, don't underestimate the skills you have. And I think those are the two things that I think is the most important things.
Amazing, amazing nuggets right there, Stephanie. Wow. So thank you so much for your time today, Stephanie. It was a great pleasure to have you as a guest speaker, and I believe that the audience will really enlightened the more. And if you're looking forward to connect with Stephanie on any social media platform, her details, will be added on the YouTube description below. So check her out. She's doing incredibly well. She's supposed to be an event planner because she goes to a lot of networking events, a lot of them. So yeah, if try to like diverge into cybersecurity or securing competitive scholarships or internship. She could be a mentor. Like I told you before, you have to reach out. So
Hmm.
definitely reach out to her, and she will definitely get back to you. So make sure to watch this video to the end and do well to like, share, subscribe. So thank you so much. Thank you, Stephanie.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye.